How's everybody doing? Good. Tired, end of the day, the 3 o'clock coffee. I need it. What I'm hoping to do today is give you all a little bit of just our story. Thank you, Jen, for the kind words. It's YSC and Tour de Pink is really a family for us, and this is my and my wife Erin's first event that isn't Tour de Pink related. So it's good to see the other things that the organization does and where all the money that we try to fundraise goes, and this is amazing. To give you a little bit of our story, we just found out, and this is what's going to make this harder, is that we were talking to somebody a little while ago, and we realized that yesterday was 6 years from when my wife was first diagnosed, and we just happened to be here. So it was completely random. So our story starts on a Saturday morning in the city. Erin and I were dating. We'd been friends for 5 years. We dated for 5 years, and then we got married, so we knew each other really well. Rolled over on a Saturday morning to get out of bed and felt something weird and was like, honey, what's that? And those 3 words are really where our story starts. To give you, some family history on Erin's side, Erin's mom had passed away 6 months prior of breast cancer after fighting for 6 years. And I hate this disease, I really do. My mom is a 5-time cancer survivor, and she shouldn't be here. In 1999, she was diagnosed stage 4 with adenocarcinoma of unknown primary. They didn't know where it started. And the doctor was like, I'm really good at what I do, and you can get a second opinion, but you've got about a year. And we said, whatever. Go scratch. We were going to go to the city, and we took her to Sloan and found somebody that's all he dealt with was adenocarcinoma, and that was in 1999. My mom then got breast cancer. She beat that twice, 3 times, and then she got thyroid cancer. She actually had breast cancer right before our wedding, and it was the same one that Erin had. So we had all the doctors lined up. It was great. We had, everything was set. So when Erin was diagnosed, she was diagnosed with DCIS, invasive and in situ. And with her family history, her mom, 3 of her aunts, and a grandmother had all died of breast cancer, but she was BRCA negative. And the doctor said, well, you know what, we just haven't figured out the gene yet, but there's something in there. So Erin decided to have a nipple and areola-sparing bilateral mastectomy. We prepared for the surgery. You're going through all of the craziness. And one of the first things that we came across, again, we were dating, was, she lived in a walk-up in the city. She had a roommate. I lived in Connecticut. And we were like, well, how's this gonna work? Where are you gonna recover? And I was like, well, you're moving in. That was it. And we talked about it, and trying to convince a stubborn Irish girl from Jersey to do anything like that is a little difficult. But that's what we did. For the 2 months after her surgery, she moved into the house that I was living in Connecticut, and she lived with me and my 3 other male roommates. But we had a big house, we had lots of room, and we were able to go through it together. So what I'm hoping to do is just walk you through a little bit of what we did early on, in the middle, and then now after 6 years, after how the diagnosis affected us. What I kept asking myself was, what can I do for her? That was really my concern. Now, coming up with these 5 or 6 slides was probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. So now after the fact, it's all great, and hindsight's 20/20. But then, thinking, what could I do for myself? I've kind of tried to work a little bit of that in here as well. I'm a nerd. I'm a super nerd. So I spent a lot of time online researching her disease. I had done the same thing with my mom. And I call it the 3 a.m. laptop. She's asleep, and I'm laying there with the laptop on my stomach, typing away, trying to learn about cancer and everything else. And that's how I came across the Young Survival Coalition. I can't tell you how much that changed our outcome and everything. Here was a group of women who, I was the boyfriend, I wasn't with the disease, who would help me with anything. I was posting, and I remember the the names. There was like Sailing Celeste and Bio Nerd Steph and all these women who would just like answer any question that I had. And then I'd go back to Erin and be like, look, hey, you know, they're young. They've got the fertility thing that we're talking about. They're dealing with this, they're dealing with that. And they were amazing. It didn't matter that I wasn't the one with cancer, and they were so welcoming. You know, and I still, to this day, I'm like, I call them my cancer girls. You know, like the YSC, they were my cancer girls, and they helped me help Erin. You know, and that's really, you know, it kind of goes into the whole support network. The other thing that I found, you know, again, and this is early on, was I kind of became the note taker and researcher and the question, you know, the question person, you know, in the doctor's office. So my big thing was, don't let the guy leave, or the girl. Don't let them walk out that door, because they always come in and they say, you know, they drop a bomb on you, and then they're like, do you have any questions? And you're kind of sitting there dumbstruck, and you might come out with one, and then as soon as they walk out the door, you've got 50 more. So I'd have those 50 questions written down. And as soon as we walked into the appointment, I'd sit as close to the door as I could, and as soon as he walked in, I'd block the door. and I'd sit there, and then, do you have any questions? And I'm like, yeah, you know what, grab a seat. and that's what we did. You know, when I think of, you know, what I could have done now in retrospect for myself at that stage, a lot of it was really trying to develop my own network. And I got there eventually, but I didn't really have my own group of people that I could rely on to support me early on. You see the margarita there. And the story behind that is, you know, we had that craziness where we first found the lump, and then we didn't know what it was, and then we were waiting, and we were seeing doctors. And then when we finally got the news, yes, you know, you have cancer, well, we went out and drank. And I'll never forget this, because it was, I don't think I've actually told Erin this, but we're all, you know, it was Erin, her sister, her roommate, myself, we're in this bar in her neighborhood, and I get a phone call, and it's my brother, and I haven't talked to him in a while. And I walk outside, because it's loud in the bar, and I'll never forget this. You know, we're chit-chatting, and I haven't told him, and the words came out, you know, Erin has cancer. And I just was bawling. I didn't even realize. Like, I'm standing in the middle of Queens Boulevard in the city, and I am bawling my eyes out. And it was probably the first time I'd cried, and I don't even know how long. You know, I was just like, holy shit. So I realized then that I was bottling everything up, that I really hadn't dealt with it. It was kind of like war mode, like, let's just go fix this, and you want to protect, and you can't protect your loved one from cancer, but you can help them by arming them, and that's what I did. And I've got the car there. I don't know how many coast drivers are out here, but like the big thing for me when it would catch up to me would be when I'd be in the car by myself. So I'm sitting there, I'm in the car, and you know, I'm not paying attention to anything, and then all of a sudden I realized, I was like, why am I crying? You know, and that's when, you know, it's when I was alone that it would really kind of catch me. So that's a little bit on that piece. And, you know, in terms of what I think you can do, it's really important that, as soon as you find out, you tell your family. You tell your close friends, you know, as a co-survivor. You tell people that aren't necessarily related to your other half, so that you have that group that can help support you and not only support your spouse. Because if you're a wreck, you can't help anybody. And that's what I found out, was that I was an absolute wreck, and I didn't know it. Like, it was just, you know, protect, protect, protect. And then, holy shit, why am I crying? During treatment, I found that helping made me feel useful. I needed to feel useful. It was very important to me to try to do everything I could, even things that I you know, had no idea about. I learned a ton being a single guy, having your girlfriend move into your house, and you know, she had her drains in for 8 weeks. So there was a lot. You know, I learned how to change drains. I learned how to wash hair, which, do I look like I know much about hair? We couldn't wash it at first, so we tried the dry stuff. That stuff is terrible. You know, finally, you know, I was just like, I need to lean on my network. And I didn't realize that I knew a guy who was like a hairstylist. He's a good friend of mine. I knew that that's what he did, but I never put two and two together. So I called him, and like on an early Saturday morning, we brought Erin down and to have the thing where you can lay down and get your hair washed. And she was just like, oh my God, this is great. I got my hair washed for the first time. I was like, I wouldn't know, I don't have hair. I'm like, I don't see what the big deal is. So, that's where, again, I learned to do a lot of different things, and having her with me at the house, someone had told me it was good that we exercised. We tried to, get her to go walk as far down the driveway as we could. And we started off with just maybe getting, I had like a 1/4 mile long driveway. We'd maybe get like 100 feet and like turn around and walk back. And we'd keep going until it was finally like we'd get to the end of the driveway, check the mail, and come home, and it took time. But, you really have to lean on your network. And, this is my sister. She was, a huge part of my support network. And this was we threw a bye-bye boobie party for Erin right before her surgery. Again, we were in the city. My sister made, I don't know if you can see, those are, boobie chocolate lollipops. But the party was really, it wasn't as much for us as it was for our friends and family, so that they would know that we were cool with what was going on. Like, these were decisions that we'd thought about and that we'd made, and that this was what we were doing, and we wanted and needed their support. But the party was as much for them as it was for us. So I really would say, you have to lean on that network early. I learned a ton about hair. I have a friend who I found out who was a reflexologist. We had her come to the house and work on Erin. Just anything that we could do. But then with all of that, you have to kind of make time for yourself. And that's the thing that, again, I wasn't great at. I'm a rugby player. Just kind of stopped playing rugby, stopped working out, gained a bunch of weight, felt like crap all the time, and started, finally was just like, I've got to kind of start getting some time out. And one of my teammates was like, let's get some training sessions at this boxing gym and go work out together. And he didn't know that what was going on. And we'd started this actually before Erin was diagnosed, and I had kind of stopped, and he's like, let's get back into it. And we're like boxing in a ring while I'm going through all of this. This is not good. But he then, I kind of told him what was going on, and he made it a point. He cleared his schedule. He's like, when can we get together and go work out? Do you want to go for a run? Do you want to do this? And we'd try to make time around what we were doing so that I would get some time off to take care of myself. And I think that's really one of the most important things that you can do. This is us, this is our team. I ride for her. We kind of have fun designing jerseys every year, but this past year, Erin and I, in terms of taking care of yourself, what really worked was developing that network. Those were kind of the two pieces that I would, the first of two pieces that I would say helped me the most was developing that network of friends, family, coworkers, anyone who, again, if they offer to help, take them up on it. That was really the big thing for me, was take people up on their offers to help, because everybody says, oh, what can I do? And you know who your real friends are when they say, what can I do? They keep hounding you until you let them do something. I had tons of people who, we don't see anymore. And, when we got married in 2010, Erin was diagnosed in 2009. And, you're planning a wedding and you're trying to figure out who comes to the wedding. And I kind of put a rule down. I was like, if I haven't seen you in the last year and a half, like, unless my parents say I have to invite you, you're out. And that was it. The people who were with us and supported us through that time were the people that we're closest with. So developing your network, taking time for yourself. What didn't work? Bottling everything up. That was really kind of my downfall. I was, Erin would have never known, but I was just with other people. I wasn't happy to be around. I wasn't a good person to be around. Like, I didn't want to talk to people. I got tired of talking about it. I used Carrying Bridge to keep everybody else updated on what was going on, but that also meant I was the one getting the calls about everything and updating everyone all the time. So I got exhausted from having to update everyone all the time, and I probably should have handed that off to somebody else, but I didn't. So that's one of the things that I don't think worked for me, was getting the word out early, developing that network early. I wish I had done that all sooner. Now we're talking about what happens after. This is our daughter, Dalia. She's fantastic. I'm going to talk about her before I talk about my first Tour de Pink, because she's part of the reason we ride. We ride for her. I don't want her to deal with what we've dealt with. And that's a huge part of our life now. So what we look at is how can we bring more awareness, more research, more funding, more anything to help prevent this disease from affecting another young woman. My very first Tour de Pink, Erin and I were one-day riders. We signed up on a lark, decided, we'll go check this thing out. And I really wanted to learn more about this organization that had helped me a lot, because I had never called anybody at the office. I'd never talked to anybody. I had just dealt with them online, with kind of this network of my cancer girls who helped me. So, when we were going to go do this, I was like, yeah, let's go check it out, and let's stay the night and see the dinner and see what happens. And there was this gentleman there named Tony Dean, who's the captain of another team, Team Y We Ride. And Tony gave this speech about why he participated in this event, and his dear friend who he lost to breast cancer, Kristen Martinez. And he's up there talking, and Erin and I are sitting at the table, and I'm listening to him speak, and he's talking about why he rides, why he rides, why he rides. And I'm sitting there, I found myself saying it out loud, I ride for her, I ride for her, I ride for her. And he finished talking, and I said, that's it. I was like, next year, we're coming back here. I'm bringing friends, we're gonna start one of these teams, and we're gonna raise as much money as we can for these guys, because that's what this is about. It was the first time, hanging out at that event, I'm glad we stayed for the dinner, because that was the first time I met another co-survivor. So we were after treatment. We were in our kind of maintenance ongoing phase when I met the first other guy who had a young girlfriend or wife who had breast cancer. And it was like, wow, this would have been awesome. Great. What do you do? But getting to talk to those people, I had people, again, who reached out to me and they're like, if you ever want to talk, if you ever want to do anything, let me know. Everybody was so welcoming, and the guys were just as welcoming as, my cancer girls had been online. And now it's become a huge part of our ongoing efforts for the organization. We started off, I rode with my wife one day. The next year, I got two of the guys I play rugby with to ride with me. My wife was pregnant that year. That year, I met Ishan, who is here somewhere. That was our second year. I met Ishan. Hey, Ishan. She was a team of 3 people out of Florida, and we merged our teams. And now we have anywhere from 13 to 20 some odd people who participate in this event with us every year. And we've raised over 90, well, I think now we're like at $98,000, $99,000 we've raised so far. And so that's kind of where, why Tour de Pink is so important to us. And I encourage all of you to look, I'll do my plug, right, Jenna? She paid me to say that, just so you know. And I encourage all of you to, give back in some way. For us, that's what we do. It doesn't have to be that. And everything I've said, it's what worked for us. It might not work for you, but just think about what you need. That's really it. And now, kind of our maintenance phase, we'll talk about Uncle Richie. Uncle Richie's our oncologist. We go see Uncle Richie, and the very first time we saw this guy, he's an example of how a great relationship with a medical professional can help you. Uncle Richie, when Erin was first diagnosed and we were looking for a local oncologist, not one in Manhattan, was like, you know what, I'm on call on Sunday. Call me, and just come in and we'll chat. And I'm like, all right, on a Sunday? He's like, all right, fine. He's like, yeah, this is how I like my coffee. Bring me a big coffee, we'll be fine. Just come in. And the guy spent 2 hours with us. He gave Erin a full exam. He had already read all of her stuff, and he spent 2 hours going through everything with us. And he really has kind of become and he knows that I'm a nerd. I do the research. I'm the one grilling him about what's going on with tamoxifen and whether or not, it's gonna go from 5 years to 10 years to whenever. And so, I mean, she gets blood work and I get a text message like 2 hours later saying, yeah, everything's good, Pablo, don't worry. That's the kind of relationship we have now. And that's really kind of how our life and our new normal, we have a relatively normal life now. There's Uncle Richie, there's the kid, and if there are going to be other kids, we've got to go back and talk to Uncle Richie. That's kind of what we do. I wanted you guys to kind of get an idea and have other co-survivors here know that it's the same. We're all going through the same thing. Yes, you'll end up crying when you don't expect it. Yes, you'll end up, being snappy with your other friends. And you can't take care of someone else if you're a wreck. And that's it.